President.
Senator from California.
Mr. President, I must tell you I'm rather surprised about this. I don't think anyone in my state, in this body, has spent as much time as I have on water in the state of California. And so the resolution today by the senator from South Carolina really surprises me, since no one from California has called, written, or indicated that they wanted this on the calendar. No one has indicated to me, as chairman of the committee, in all of the time that Senator Alexander and I have been working on this bill, that this is what they wanted. And in fact, what this would do is prohibit the Secretary of Interior from expending appropriate funds to restrict, reduce, reallocate water supplies from the Central Valley Project and the California State Water Project under biological opinions issued by the Fish and Wildlife Service of the United States and the NOAA Fisheries. Now, the Secretary from South Carolina is venturing into a very complicated thing. This would prohibit the approval on 2 gates. It would prohibit work on the intertie, where water is now being transferred from one system, state-run, to federal and back and forth based on need, water transfers that are in the hundreds of thousands of acre-feet. It would prohibit Interior from working on the Bay Delta Conservation Plan, and it would prevent federal agencies from working on water quality issues in the Delta. Now, what is the Delta? The Delta is a large inland body of water in Northern California. It is the drinking water for 16 million people, and it is the source of water, some of which trickles down to Southern California. The Met, for example, the Metropolitan Water District in Los Angeles uses between 800,000 acre-feet and 1 million acre-feet a year of this water. Jurisdictions all over the state use some of this water. The agriculture community uses 80% of the water in the Delta. 80% of the water in the Delta goes to the agricultural community. And there are enormous endangered species issues in the Delta, the death of certain kinds of fish, the non-native species of fish, deteriorating levees that when they deteriorate, the peat soil drifts into the water, creates all kinds of problems for treatment, and would likely collapse in the instance of a major earthquake. So what's happening is a whole effort to restore the Delta, to develop a management plan for the Delta, how to rebuild it, how to shore it up, and also whether, in fact, there should be some conveyance around the Delta to bring some of the water south. Now, this is a very hot issue in California. It is not a hot issue in South Carolina, trust me. It's interesting to me that groups go to the senator from South Carolina instead of to the chairman of the committee for something which is preemptive, would handcuff the Secretary of Interior. Secretary of Interior has appointed his number 2 person, David Hayes, to handle Western water. David Hayes has been in California. He has solved many problems. He came with me in August to a meeting down in the southern Central Valley to discuss these problems and say what the department was prepared to do about them. On September the 30th of this month, the Interior Secretary is holding a meeting to announce what actions he is going to take on 2 gates, on the intertie, on water transfers. I don't understand why we would want to handcuff the Secretary of the Interior by saying no money can go for any of these things, that water has to just be released to the Central Valley with no controls on it. This makes no sense to me. And I see a series of letters that have come in from people that I have talked with. I know there's a problem with the biological opinion. There are 30 lawsuits against the biological opinions. I understand that. To that end, I have been asked to put $750,000 in this bill to allow the National Academy of Science to come in and do an overarching but quick, within 6 months. You look at the biological opinions and either say these biological opinions are founded in sound science or they are not founded in sound science. That is in the heart of this bill. The ranking member has agreed to put this money in this bill for that purpose. So along comes something now which would totally handcuff the Secretary of Interior, which would mean no permits to be able to move water between the California Aqueduct and the Central Valley Project and back and forth, no permits for 2 gates, which is 2 of the emergency solutions that have been put forward. And so what will happen if this passes is you can be sure there will be court action, and we will most likely be enjoined. So to my view, it makes no sense. And we need the help of Interior. I have asked the Department of Interior, in terms of the federal agencies, to take the lead in dealing with California water. A specific person has been designated, the number 2 person in the department, David Hayes. And a whole process has been entered into now for the administration, through the Secretary of Interior, to begin to put its hands on the problem and deal with it. I cannot stand here and support legislation that says just go ahead and release water, regardless of endangered species, regardless of any court that might come down right on top of you and say stop. I can't do that. It isn't responsible to do it. And it's interesting to me, and I'm looking at some of these letters, and it's kind of interesting to me, people who I meet with, whose phone calls I respond to, who have never called and said, look, this is what we really need. And so I don't quite understand what's going on here. And that's the reason for my objection. I'm not going to put the state of California and the Bay Delta in the threat of another lawsuit. We have enough already. And water is a huge, complicated, and difficult issue. And no one cares more about it than I do, Mr. President, or has tried harder to sort out the problems. So, in a way, this is a kind of Pearl Harbor on everything that we're trying to do, which is to work together to put Interior in the lead, not to handcuff Interior. And that's the reason I objected to the amendment. Now, I understand in a motion there will be a vote, so I would urge a no vote. On the floor, I note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.